many of you have been following through the internet or some other thing the year 2012? How many of you have heard of what I'm talking about? Man, I'm surprised how many of you. It's taken off. It's pretty popular. For those of you who don't know, it's all the buzz right now. They're even making a major motion picture about it. According to the Mayans, and they had this remarkable calendar system. They were phenomenal with astronomy. Their calendar ends in the year 2012. And so all the buzz is, it's the end of the world, it's doom and gloom. You say, oh, that's just a fable, it's just myth. Nobody would take this kind of thing seriously. Well, maybe that's so, but some serious people are taking it seriously. And that's kind of what got my attention. So I'm going to share with you one more video clip to show you how some of the serious people are taking this seriously, and then we'll jump into the topic, is the end really near? Let's take a look.
They were obsessed with timekeeping. Their calendar was incredibly precise, more accurate even than our own. Its interlocking timescales of lunar, solar, and planetary cycles could accurately predict a solar eclipse thousands of years into the future.
The Mayans were kind of like shamanic scientists, and they were obsessed with time, synchronicity, and consciousness, and they spent like 1,000 years, going back to even previous civilizations, trying to put together a model of when this big transformation was going to take place.
The calendar is also prophetic. In the 8th century AD, it predicted that white-skinned bearded gods would arrive from across the sea on March 5th, 1519. On that precise date, Cortez and his conquistadors arrived in the New World. Was it coincidence? Or was the calendar prophetically accurate? The answer matters, for the Mayan calendar also predicts the end of the world as we know it, on the date that the Mayans called Hunab Ku.
On the winter solstice, 2012, December 21st, the sun rises within the dark rift at the center of the Milky Way. And they call this dark rift a cosmic mother, or they also apparently refer to it as a black hole. And only in the last 5 years have Western astronomers discovered that there is actually an enormous black hole at the center of the Milky Way, which is at the center of our galaxy.
Modern astronomers concur with the ancient Mayans. On December 21st, 2012, the Earth will be in exact alignment with the Sun and the center of the Milky Way galaxy, a galactic event that takes place only once every 25,800 years. No one knows what effect this extraordinary alignment will have on the Earth, but the Mayans believed it would be dire.
It might be kind of like a crossing over of the kind of galactic equator. When you go below, south and north, magnetic currents will spin in opposite directions. It might be there's a kind of field effect reversal that takes place once you pass through this galactic equator.
Geophysicists have a theory that is strikingly similar to the events predicted by the Mayan alignment. This phenomenon is called pole shift, in which the entire mantle of the Earth would shift in a matter of days, perhaps hours, changing the position of the North and South Pole, causing worldwide disaster. Earthquakes would rock every continent. Massive tsunamis would inundate coastal cities. It would be the ultimate planetary catastrophe. As unlikely as this theory seems, it is backed by science. Albert Einstein first suggested it in 1955. And a new study from Princeton University reveals that the poles have shifted before. The North Pole rested in the middle of the Pacific 800 million years ago, placing Alaska at the equator. Even if this pole shift took place slowly over years, it would result in global climate change and shifting sea levels. If it took place rapidly, it would mean planet-wide disaster and mass extinction of species.
Think, is the end near? If the History Channel says so, it must be true. Well, it isn't just the ancient Mayans that predicted when the world would end. Ancient Israel, ancient Jews predicted when the world would end. I'm not talking about the Bible yet. I'm just talking about Jews. The Talmud talks about the end of the world like this. Let me read to you from the Talmud. The world is to exist 6,000 years. In the first 2,000 years, there will be desolation. What they meant by that is there's no Torah, no Bible. So the first 2,000 years is desolation. For 2,000 years, the Torah flourished. And then the next 2,000 years is the Messianic era. In other words, in that third set of 2,000 years is when the Messiah comes and everything wraps up. But through our many sins, all these years have been lost. Interesting way to end that sentence. And then it goes on. It's been taught in accordance with Rabbi Katina, just as the seventh year is 1 year of release in 7. In other words, in the Bible it says, let the land rest every 7 years. Just like it says that, so is the world. 1,000 years out of 7 shall be fallow, as it is written. And it goes on. So, according to the Jews, the world's supposed to have roughly 6,000 years, and then the Messianic age that lasts for 1,000 years. And the Jewish calendar, we're in the year 5769. So, according to them, the world's going to end in about 231 years. The Mayans in about 4 years. And somehow, I just don't want to put a lot of stock in what these people are saying. I do think there's going to be an end. And I'm not sure when it's going to come. The only thing I know about the year 2012 is another election at the United States. So I'm going to have my eyes open on who's running. Jesus talked about the end too. He did not give a date, but he said, these signs are going to occur before the end so that you know the end is coming. So his disciples and he were sitting on the Mount of Olives. Now, if you've ever been to Israel or if you've seen pictures of Jerusalem, oftentimes you'll see like an aerial shot of the Temple Mount or something. Oftentimes those pictures come from the Mount of Olives because the Mount of Olives is just a little higher than the Temple Mount, and you can look at it from there. So he and his disciples were sitting up on the Mount of Olives looking at the beautiful temple. And the disciples were saying, oh, isn't this nice? We got this wonderful temple. And Jesus said, yes, but the day is going to come where not one stone is left standing on another. Let me read to you about his conversation with his disciples. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. So the crowds were gone. It was just him and his disciples. They came to him privately saying, tell us, when shall these things be? The destruction of the temple and Israel, all that. And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. So I'm going to share with you 7 signs that he gave his disciples that the end is coming, that the end is near. And the first one, he says, watch out, don't be deceived. Many will come in my name, claiming I am the Christ.